Imagine planting a few trees this year and knowing that decades from now, perhaps even long after you're gone, your children and grandchildren could still be harvesting food from them. It sounds almost impossible, but there are a handful of extraordinary trees that can provide food, nutrition, and security for generations. Some of them can live for hundreds of years while producing thousands of pounds of edible harvests during their lifetime. Today, we're counting down 7 incredible food-producing trees that can become a living inheritance for your family. And make sure you stay until the end, because the final tree is not only a source of food, but also one of the most valuable long-term investments you can plant in your backyard. 1. Chestnut tree. For centuries, chestnut trees were known throughout Europe and Asia as the bread tree, and once you understand why, you'll never look at them the same way again. Unlike most nuts, chestnuts are rich in complex carbohydrates instead of oils. That means they function more like potatoes, or grains, than traditional nuts. A mature chestnut tree can produce anywhere from 200 to 400 pounds of nuts every year. Think about that for a moment. One tree can provide an enormous amount of filling, calorie-dense food year after year. Chestnuts can be roasted, boiled, dried, or ground into flour for bread and baking. In mountainous regions, where wheat was difficult to grow, entire communities relied on chestnut forests to survive harsh winters and crop failures. The trees usually begin producing after 5 to 7 years, but the wait is more than worth it. Many chestnut trees can continue producing for centuries. Planting one isn't just gardening. It's building a food system that could outlast you and continue feeding your family for generations. 2. Fig tree. Few trees have been treasured throughout history, quite like the fig tree. For thousands of years, figs have represented prosperity and abundance, and for good reason. These trees are incredibly productive and surprisingly resilient. A mature fig tree can produce between 100 and 200 pounds of fruit every single year. Even better, they thrive in places where many other fruit trees struggle, including hot climates and rocky soils. Almost every family seems to know someone with an old fig tree in the yard, a tree that quietly produces more fruit than anyone knows what to do with. Fresh figs are delicious, but their true superpower is preservation. Once dried, figs become a naturally sweet, nutrient-packed food that can last for months. Dried figs contain impressive amounts of minerals and calories, making them one of nature's original energy bars. The best part? Fig trees are among the fastest producing fruit trees you can grow. Many begin bearing fruit in just 2 or 3 years. If you've ever wanted a tree that rewards your patience quickly, the fig tree may be one of the smartest choices you can make. And if you're enjoying these long-term food ideas, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We share practical ways to build greater self-sufficiency and create a lasting legacy. 3. Mulberry tree. The mulberry may be one of the most underrated fruit trees on earth. You rarely see mulberries in grocery stores because the berries are simply too delicate to survive shipping. They bruise easily and spoil quickly, but that's exactly what makes them so special in your own backyard. A mature mulberry tree can produce between 50 and 80 pounds of berries every summer, and the fruit is incredibly sweet and nutrient-rich. Unlike many fruit trees, mulberries are remarkably easy to grow. Poor soil? They don't mind. Hot weather? No problem. Long periods without attention? They keep right on growing. In fact, many people call them one of the most carefree food trees available. Dried mulberries have been an important staple food in parts of Central Asia for centuries because they're naturally sweet and surprisingly high in nutrients. Another reason people love mulberry trees is how quickly they pay you back. Many begin producing fruit within 3 to 5 years, much sooner than many traditional orchard trees. It's a perfect example of a tree that gives far more than it asks in return. 4. Hazelnut tree. Most fruit trees give you sugar and vitamins. Hazelnut trees give you something even more valuable: fat and protein. A single pound of hazelnuts contains an astonishing amount of calories, making them one of the most energy-dense foods you can grow at home. A mature hazelnut tree can produce around 30 pounds of nuts every year, creating a dependable source of nutrition that can be stored for long periods. And that's one of the biggest advantages of hazelnuts: storage. Kept in their shells, hazelnuts can remain fresh for over a year without refrigeration. Throughout history, they helped communities survive difficult times because they provided nutrients that were otherwise hard to find. Hazelnut trees are also surprisingly resilient. They tolerate a wide range of soils and climates, and often begin producing in as little as 3 to 4 years. Sometimes, true food security isn't about growing more, it's about growing smarter. And hazelnuts are one of the smartest investments you can make in your landscape. 5. Apple tree apples are so common that many people underestimate their importance. But before supermarkets and refrigerated supply chains existed, apple trees played a major role in helping families survive long winters. A mature apple tree can produce an incredible 200 to 400 pounds of fruit each year. The real magic of apples lies in their versatility. Fresh apples can be stored for months under the right conditions. Dried apples last even longer. They can be turned into juice, cider, preserves, or countless other foods. A family with several mature apple trees can harvest hundreds of pounds of food every year from a relatively small amount of land. Apple trees do require patience. Many take 6 to 10 years to reach their full potential, and most varieties benefit from cross-pollination. But once established, they can continue producing for decades with relatively little maintenance. If you've ever dreamed of creating a backyard that provides genuine food security, few trees deserve a place in your garden more than the humble apple. 6. Pecan tree. If there were an award for the most productive food tree, the pecan would certainly be a strong contender. A mature pecan tree can produce between 200 and 400 pounds of nuts every year. Those nuts are packed with healthy fats and proteins, providing an enormous amount of energy from a single tree. Their thick shells also allow them to store exceptionally well, remaining edible for long periods without refrigeration. For centuries, indigenous peoples across North America valued pecans as an important and dependable food source because they were easy to transport and incredibly nutritious. The trade-off is patience. Pecan trees usually need 7 to 10 years before they begin producing meaningful harvests. But once they mature, they can continue producing for 2 or even 3 centuries. Imagine planting a tree today that your great-grandchildren could still be harvesting from someday. That's not just gardening. That's creating an inheritance. 7. Walnut tree. Our final tree may be the ultimate long-term investment. Walnut trees provide both nutritious food and valuable timber, making them one of the most versatile trees you can plant. A mature walnut tree can produce between 50 and 80 pounds of nuts every year. Those nuts are packed with healthy fats, protein, and essential nutrients that become incredibly valuable during difficult times. Like pecans and hazelnuts, walnuts store extremely well thanks to their hard shells. But what truly sets walnut trees apart is their wood. High-quality walnut lumber is prized around the world and can be worth a significant amount once the tree reaches maturity. In many ways, planting a walnut tree is like opening a biological savings account. It pays annual dividends in food and leaves behind a valuable legacy for future generations. Walnut trees require patience, often taking 6 to 10 years before they begin producing substantial harvests. Yet they can continue living and feeding families for 150 to 200 years. That kind of longevity is hard to find anywhere else in nature. Building a food legacy isn't about quick results. It's about thinking beyond next season and planting something that can continue giving long after you're gone. These 7 remarkable trees, the chestnut, fig, mulberry, hazelnut, apple, pecan, and walnut, represent more than just food. They represent independence. They represent resilience. And perhaps most importantly, they represent the idea that a small decision today can provide security for generations to come. You don't need a massive orchard to begin. Even planting 1 or 2 of these trees this year can completely change the future of your backyard and your family's food supply. So, which of these incredible trees would you plant first? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more ideas on creating a self-sufficient and productive homestead. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.